Hey everyone, welcome to the Temple of Geeks Who Review, a Doctor Who inspired podcast for fans of the long-running British science fiction television series. I'm your host, Nate, or Doc in the Box.
And I'm Elizabeth, aka Lady of Time Cosplay.
We are massive Doctor Who fans, and we're here to talk about all things Doctor Who throughout our series. We will be and have been discussing the latest episodes, classic series spin-offs, and everything in between.
We'll also be bringing you interviews with people who've worked in and around the series, behind-the-scenes information, and all sorts of other Doctor Who-related fun.
So whether you're a longtime fan, just getting started, or just found it on Disney+, we hope you'll enjoy us for the ride.
Or saw the TARDIS at Disneyland, because that's exciting.
Right.
But today we are going to be discussing the first two episodes of what is being called Series 1, as the show gets a little bit of a soft reboot as it makes its move to Disney+. So we will be talking about Space Babies and the Devil's Chord. So if you have not watched those two episodes yet, because we are hoping that this episode will get to go out the day that those episodes go out, go away, because major spoilers, there's a lot to talk about. Go watch it on Disney+, or if you're in the UK, you go watch it on BBC iPlayer. Yeah, that was a little bit of a point of controversy on Twitter a few weeks ago when they did announce the release schedule, because basically it's releasing at the same time as worldwide, which translates to midnight UK time, which means it'll be, I think, 7 p.m. on the East Coast and 4 p.m. on the West Coast in the States. And yeah, there was
midnight UK?
Midnight UK. So like it's dropping the midnight going into the Saturday for them.
I don't know. But
it'll be 4
p.m.
p.m. at your house. Yeah.
Like, it's very convenient for a number of us over here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still their show.
Yes.
That's kind of messed up.
I know. It's coming out the same thing. It's kind of been like a point of contention online, but it's still going to like air on TV in the UK at its normal time slot. It'll be available on iPlayer at midnight their time, and then it'll be on TV later in the day.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that makes
people were a little unhappy with that.
At least they'll be able to watch the regular broadcast, yeah.
Right, yeah. So it'll still be on TV, which is exciting because it's got to be on TV. It's Doctor Who. But yeah, a lot of people were less than thrilled about, like, what do you mean I have to stay up? Or what do you mean I have to avoid spoilers if I don't want to watch it until it's on TV? And I'm sitting here, like, as a US fan, like, I had to get off the internet and avoid spoilers all the time. I'm like, I'm not saying that it's necessarily something they should have to do, but I'm like, it's doable if you don't want to watch it until later.
My thing about that, excuse me. My thing about it was their show. It is their show for decades, and then just absorbing it and changing it on them. Like, yeah, that feels wrong. But it, again, you said they're going to have the normal broadcast, so that makes me feel a lot better about it. Yeah,
like it's still going to be on TV, just it'll drop at midnight on iPlayer. So if anybody wants to stay up and watch it, they can, or they can watch it when they get up, because it's going in. It's not like it's dropping. Like, I've always kind of hated how Disney Plus, a lot of times the new shows are like Wednesdays, and I work Wednesdays like a lot of people do, and so I'd have to get up, like, either like avoid the internet all day until I get home from work, or get up early to watch it before I go to work. So at least it's like, I mean, and there's plenty of people that also work Saturdays. I work Saturdays, but I understand where some of it's coming from, but also I don't feel like it's the huge catastrophe that people were making it out to be when it first got announced on Twitter. Very usual.
The biggest thing, spoiler-wise, that would annoy me, and I get it, because you want to ride the hype of your own show, but it annoyed me, was immediately after something would happen, the official BBC Doctor Who account was posting stuff, and I can't even use my phone until I watch this show.
Yeah, I know. Like, what I would always do is because I would usually be at work when the episode was going out, so I would just, like, turn off all my Twitter notifications, because you can turn off notifications for certain apps, or just, like, turn off the internet completely on my phone. And you can mute and block tags. I get where people are frustrated that they're going to have to curate their internet experience if they want to wait to watch it until later in the day, but I'm like, it's doable.
John Barrowman spoiled it for me twice.
Oh, no.
Twice. Yeah, I avoided Instagram and everything else, and I forgot to mute John Barrowman. And when he was in
Mm,
the 13th Doctor run, immediately after it airs, actually, I don't even think it was after it aired. I think it was while it was airing, immediately
yep.
after the part he was in. I saw a notification from him, and I didn't read it, but I swiped it. I'm like, well, I guess he's in this episode.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. Yikes. Yeah, you gotta make sure you mute everything. Oh boy. All right, but we should talk about these two new episodes because they were absolutely phenomenal. I do want to say, like, hey, thanks Disney Plus for giving us screeners because that was really, really cool to get to see those early. It's been hard because I've wanted to talk about these episodes since I saw them because they're so good. So, what did you think overall of both of the episodes?
Overall, I felt they were, and I don't want to say they were very Disney, but I feel like they went very child friendly. Like it felt
Mm,
a lot lighthearted, and I'm not even sure how to explain or express it. It did have a different feel. I'm not saying
mhm.
it's necessarily bad, but it did have a different feel, specifically with the Space Babies episode. And granted, there are babies in the episode, so it's going to have a childlike feel, but it was it was a little different.
Yeah. I mean, I think as much as I love a good old grumpy doctor, because like 12's one of my favorites, obviously, I do understand why they went with having the doctor be a little more like, oh my gosh, and excited about life and everything, because this is introducing it hopefully to a bigger audience at this point with it being on Disney Plus. So I understand why it's not like super serious kind of thing. But I'm sure RTD is very good at the angst and everything. So I'm sure we'll see a bit of that later on. But yeah, just the episodes, they were just fun. Was my thing is they were so much fun to watch. You could tell that the cast had a lot of fun making it.
Yeah.
It was just thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable. I mean, the last season of Doctor Who, not counting the 60th anniversary, the last season of Doctor Who was kind of about the entire universe ending. So I guess it's a good tone shift to not have that. And very honestly, 15 might become my new favorite Doctor. Like, I just adore Ncuti Gatwa so much as the Doctor.
Yeah, and you mentioned the angst, and you see some of that with him coming out in the second episode.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is a little more lighthearted and campy, even though there's a monster in it. But the second one does get a little more serious and real with things at stake and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And especially because we kind of get a new kind of group of villains introduced, which I think is going to be really interesting. But how did both of the episodes compare to your expectations slash thoughts on what the plot was going to be or what you thought was going to happen, I guess?
Space Babies pretty much lived up to its title. There's if you expected anything different from that episode, I would love to know because it's pretty much on par for exactly what they sold it as.
Yep.
The Beatles episode, I liked the episode.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think there are going to be a number of people who either don't like it or feel cheated on the episode because the whole Beatles episode was a big sell, and they weren't, and it wasn't like Winston Churchill or other historical figures where they had them kind of intertwined into the story. They were just kind of there
Yeah,
for a
like
couple
bookended.
seconds,
Yeah.
like, and they weren't really part of it, and it's probably a licensing thing, but there wasn't even an actual note. Well, there was a note, but there weren't any Beatles songs, not even like a melody or anything. So I feel like that's going to be a tearing point between some people.
Yeah, I mean, like, people were really nasty just about the casting online. Like, when they released, I think it was like a Doctor Who magazine cover or something with the cast on there, people were mean about it. And I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
think Doctor Who needs to always cast exact lookalikes. I mean, I'm sure they could have, but like you said, given that they didn't have like a huge part in the episode anyway, it wasn't strictly necessary. I didn't really expect that episode to be about like how important music is. Like, I don't know what I thought the plot was going to be about, especially because I forget where it cropped up, but I know that I had seen before I saw the episode that there weren't going to be any Beatles songs because the licensing for those songs is so expensive kind of thing, even with Disney money, I guess. But I wasn't expecting it to be like about how important music is. It's like, yeah, music went away, and then you flash forward to where the time that Ruby's supposed to be from, and everybody's dead.
Yeah. Legitimately, like everything's just destroyed.
Just gone. And I was like, this is not what I was expecting. But I'm like, yeah, music is really important. I did write down the quote from that episode that I thought was really, really good. Yeah, the doctor says, I think without music, the human race goes sour. Without any ways of expressing a broken heart, they go to war without even knowing why. And I was like, oh, that's a really good line. And that, again, this wasn't what I was expecting the episode to be about, but I absolutely, absolutely loved it. I did kind of like how Space Babies 2 was a little bit of Russell kind of, I don't know if riffing on or paying homage to or what the right phrase is, but kind of how like Stephen Moffat did a lot of like fairy tale-esque things in his run of Doctor Who. It kind of felt like him being like, oh, here's my version of that, especially with like the computer making up the monster out of boogers. Which
The boogeyman.
The boogeyman.
First we had
clever, but also very gross.
Yeah. We went from the eye boogies in Sleep No More to actual boogies in Space Babies.
Yep.
I don't want to know what's next.
No. Yeah, I'm like, I was sitting there, I'm like,
earwax
I'm
monster,
glad.
I guess.
I feel like they did. I don't know, but yeah, I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm glad I'm not eating. I think I've told this before. When I saw 13's first episode, it was at New York Comic Con. They had it on a big, huge screen, and the guy with all the teeth in his face. I was just like, I was eating popcorn at the time. Yeah, there was something about the combination of eating popcorn and the guy with teeth in his face that I was just like,
Now, I do have to highlight, speaking of now that we have the boogeyman, he's blown out of our noses and out there now, I do have to mention something that Monica and I noticed immediately, specifically highlighting that Ncuti was scared, and the Doctor's normally not scared. And I know that the monster was designed for that, and you notice that later, but it was jarring at first. Like, wait, why is he almost clutching onto Ruby, and he didn't throw her in front of him, but it felt like protect me, and it was very off character for the Doctor.
In the press conference that I got to do for Doctor Who, again, thank you, Disney, that was very cool. Thank you. Very cool. I'm like, oh, this is exciting. Somebody did ask about that in the press conference. I don't remember the outlet who asked about it, but Russell apparently, the answer was basically, it's 2024, people are more open about their emotions, so he wanted to have a doctor that was a little less like reserved and was more willing to have those reactions kind of thing. I did kind of think the same thing, where I was like, why are we, I get that he's like engineered to be scared, but also you're the Doctor. I'm like, you've kind of experienced some more scary stuff than this, I feel like. But yeah, Russell did talk a bit about how he wanted to have the Doctor be a little more emotionally open than the character has been in the past.
Like you mentioned, and that monster was specifically designed to resonate and cause fear in almost anything that's alive. So I understood it later.
Another fun little point that came out of that press conference too was I was talking about how Space Babies is a bit fairy tale, and it's been kind of talked about how because of what the Doctor did at the edge of space, kind of invited the Toymaker in, which is invited kind of like magic and fairy tales and that kind of thing that's a little less sci-fi. Russell did mention that Stephen Moffat's episode, which is titled Boom, I believe, is like a very hard sci-fi episode, so that's going to be exciting to see. I think that's next week's episode. I'm pretty sure that's episode 3, so
okay,
I'm excited to see that. But
I'm excited that he's writing again.
I know, me too. I mean, I know he's done other stuff since he left Doctor Who, but I'm like, I love Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who, so I am very, very excited to see what he does. Even if I wish that they could have gotten a few more other writers other than Russell and Moffat, in for this season, because I think the only other episode that's been written by somebody that's not RTD or Stephen Moffat is Rogue, which is the Bridgerton episode. So
Yeah, and I loved them together. Like I loved Moffat's run, but I specifically loved, like, if we're characterizing them like on strong points on based on just my opinion alone, RTD's long form storytelling and Moffat's short stories, as far as like the two-parters and the monsters that he's created during his run, are probably the most memorable monsters there are, aside from the classic episodes.
Yeah. Bogeyman felt like very much like a Stephen Moffat monster a little bit, which I love.
I mean, he did give us the eye boogie monster, so it's on par for that.
I think that was actually a Mark Gatiss episode. Let me double check myself on that. I think so.
I think you're right. Now that you mentioned that, it still could have been one of the greatest episodes ever if they just had a 2-part on it. They just needed a 2-part because it was a found footage episode, so all they needed was the actual like timeline.
Yep, Mark Gatiss, and good. Well, I'm sorry. Now I'm on the Wikipedia page for Sleep No More to double check who it was written by, and the picture of the Sandman costume at the Doctor Who experience is nasty looking.
Oh, that's what they called it. That's right. Eye Boogie Monster. It's good enough for me.
Well, it's because they use that song in the episode, Mr. Sandman, which, of course, my brain, because I have been on Tumblr for 10 years, goes, Mr. Sandman, sand me a man. Make him the cutest man Dora Hook hand. Tumblr's weird. Don't ask. And I mean, I try not to, like, overanalyze stuff too much for what I think the plot is going to be, because I feel like that takes the fun out of it, because either, like, you were right and you're like sitting there like, oh, I already knew all this, or like you're wrong and you're disappointed kind of thing. So, but overall, both episodes were great. I really enjoyed them. Really love the Doctor saving the monster. So
yes, the Doctor saving the monster is very on par for the Doctor, and that was kind of cool, even though the howling at the end of the episode was a little cheesy. Again, it was a kid episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice seeing them give the monster a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I did question, though, going into the second episode, was I was slightly confused at the end, because after vanquishing Maestro, it was like nothing ever happened. Like everything just went back to normal. And it wasn't like music just started again. It was like it was released into the world again and history fixed itself like it never occurred.
Yeah.
And that's what that confused me a little bit, because I didn't know why or how.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's something that might get explained a little bit. But since this is a kind of a soft reboot of the show, like I've been saying, do you think this will be a good stepping on point for new fans that Disney is trying to reach?
Yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no is because it depends on a couple things. I think what your taste is going to be in the show is going to affect things, because not every season of Doctor Who is for everyone, but there is a season of Doctor Who for everyone. I can't, just with these 2 episodes, I can't specifically say that this is going to be everyone's flavor, but it is a good place to jump in and learn the basics about the show at the minimum. Because I can't say everyone's going to stay around through Space Babies after that. Not that it's a bad episode, but
Right.
it is.
It's camp.
Yeah, it's campy. The Maestro episodes definitely hits a lot harder, but it just depends on how you feel about things.
Yeah. Yeah. In my notes, when I was watching the episodes, I did write down for the start of Space Babies, when the Doctor and Ruby are talking in the TARDIS, I wrote down pretty good info dump for the newbies, though Ncuti could read the telephone book and make it charming. Because they went through like a lot of information, and just like that little kind of scene, like where the Doctor is from, what the TARDIS is, the Time Lords, and he rattles off a couple different names, including the Master, which I thought was interesting.
The Master, the Ronnie. I don't think he said Omega.
Ronnie, the Conquistador.
Yeah.
Like it was a good info dump. which I think was probably the right move. I mean, because it's interesting because when Russell brought the show back in 2009, it took a lot longer to get all of that information out of the Doctor, like a couple episodes at least. So when it's, again, him writing the Doctor being more open, but also making it a little bit more immediately accessible to new fans, which I think was good. And like I said, it's very honestly, as much as I love a grumpy Doctor, good choice to have a Doctor who's a bit more excited and enthusiastic about seeing the universe. And also, I'm just thrilled with how much Disney is marketing the show compared to what it's been like the past couple seasons. They've got a billboard in Times Square. They did a wrap on the subway inside and out. A friend of mine who lives in the city went, and it's the outside of that train, but also if you go inside, each car is a different episode, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They've been doing press. I think Ncuti Gatwa was at Seth Meyers. Yeah, again, the press junkets. And there was a TARDIS in Disneyland. Which, if anybody knows me, knows how excited that makes me. I know, it was just towards the entrance of downtown Disney, in between the two. It wasn't in the parks, but it was in the ticket resort.
Area. Yeah. It was on the grounds.
Yes.
We went, we saw it. It was missing a handle by the time we got there and roped off, but it was still amazing.
I know, because the first time I saw it, there was no rope around it, but then by the next couple posts, there was a barrier up around it. I'm like, oh yeah, they learned the Doctor Who fans are a little bit insane.
Well, I don't know if the handle on the door was missing, and I guess maybe someone tried to open the door, and I'm not faulting whoever got the handle off, because when we got there, we noticed the handle was missing just because we noticed details, but it looked like it was just glued on. It wasn't actually like screwed onto or fixated to the TARDIS. So it could have just been the wrong angle that they held it, or we're doing the whole thing I just closed the door and it pulled off. So it might not have, it could have been just an innocent mistake. And then Disney roped it off. But it was still cool. It was only roped off in the front. The back you had full access to, so you can lean on the back and everything. It was still cool.
That's cool. I know. I keep telling people, I'm if Disney starts doing Doctor Who merch, I will never have money again. Ever. There has started to be new Doctor Who merch. I've seen Her Universe has a new TARDIS dress and a TARDIS hoodie, and there's a bag that's coming out, but I'm more please.
If they start making ears, you're done.
I want more lounge flies. This is the only one that I have. I am willing to buy more.
All I'm saying is if Disney starts making ears, you're done.
Oh yeah, ears, pins, spirit jerseys, especially. It'll be a problem. I'm very interested to see. I don't know for sure if they'll be at San Diego Comic-Con this year, but I'll be very interested to see if Doctor Who has any sort of presence at D23. It's not D23 Expo anymore. It's D23 The Ultimate Fan Event, but more people are going to know what I mean when I say D23 Expo. But I'll be interested to see if they have any sort of presence there. The season will have been over for a bit by the time that comes around, because it's early August, but they've got the Christmas special coming up. Who knows? Guess it depends on what everybody's filming schedules are. But,
I do have one thing I want to mention or ask, because I feel like you're the person for me to ask about this.
Okay.
The second episode was obviously very music influenced. At the end, there was a big dance number, which we assume is paying homage to a number of musicals. However, I did not get references, and for me, it was why is this so long?
I was just, because I did rewind and watch that song at least 3 or 4 times. Because I'm me. I didn't notice any direct homages to musicals, which I'm not sure if I would expect there to be references to musicals, because it was more of it's not necessarily about strictly the Beatles. It's more about music in general and that kind of era of music. Now I'm curious. Now I'm going to have to watch it again once the episode's out to see if I catch anything. What I did catch, though, If you look at the credits for that episode, Murray Gold is credited in the episode as himself.
Oh.
And if you watch that episode, the song at the end of the episode, Murray Gold is at the piano playing
Didn't notice that.
in that song.
I didn't catch that.
And then there were two other people who were credited as themselves, and those were the two people that the Doctor and Ruby were dancing with at the end. Those are two. One is a Strictly Come Dancing judge, and the other is a Strictly Come Dancing like pro dancer, which I thought was fun. So I'm assuming they had something to do with like helping choreograph the dancing that happened, which I thought was fun.
So those dance numbers I had assumed were references or dance numbers from different musicals. That's what we had assumed.
They might be. Yeah, I'd have to watch it again to see if I pick up on anything, but I was just having fun having there be another musical number in a Doctor Who episode. Because legitimately, when I got to watch this episode, I watched it like 2 days before I left to go to New York City to go see Broadway shows. I went and I saw Merrily We Roll Along with Jonathan Groff, who will be in Doctor Who later this season, and I went to see Water for Elephants with Grant Gustin. So I have had the song from the end of Devil's Chord stuck in my head alongside songs from Merrily We Roll Along and Water for Elephants, and now Gutenberg the Musical, because that cast album just dropped the other day, stuck in my head for like 2 weeks. It's been fun.
So what else do you think is going to come from this? Because in Devil's Chord, we find that Maestro is, I guess, a child of the toy maker?
Yes.
That's what they imply?
Yep. Yeah, this was kind of what one of my other questions was getting towards, but I do think that Ruby is going to wind up being either a child or a grandchild of the toy maker. Both because the Doctor has that DNA scan going for her. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of freaking out a little bit. You don't really get a conclusion on that. But also, when they're singing that song, and there's always a twist at the end, the shot that you get of the child from the start of the episode who says that Maestro is their dad, I believe. I didn't write down the direct quote, but the
you
kid,
said that who was playing
there was the kid
the Harbinger?
Yes, the kid who was at the start of the episode, but then got disappeared, but then came back after Maestro got disappeared, which is the twist, obviously, I guess. And I thought that was an interesting thing to focus on. And I think that Ruby might be connected to the toy maker somehow.
That would make sense, and that clicked something in my head. That, damn it. Okay. But going back to first on the Harbinger kid. So that was one of the things where it solidified that I think it was showing that everything that Maestro did was nullified when Maestro was put back. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if the kid coming back is a specific focal point of the story. I think it was just to show everything has been restored. Yay! Nobody died. Okay. It's Disney. We only kill parents.
Yep.
But
the Doctor does have an evil stepmom.
But you mentioned now, which I hadn't thought of before, that Ruby might be some part or relation to the toy maker, which would explain why reality is warping itself around the Doctor every time the Doctor remembers Ruby.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, I forget exactly how the scene goes, but like when the Doctor had that line about, I thought that was non-diegetic music, I was like, what? Because I think Ruby was or wasn't hearing it. And I was just like, there's just some weird stuff going on around Ruby where I'm like, I don't think she's as human as we're all being led to believe, at minimum.
There were points where I was getting very Clara vibes from her, and I don't know if that's just me missing 12 and Clara, but she was very like, let's go, not I'm the boss, but like very fearless and let's dive into this and we're gonna handle it. And I got very Clara vibes from her. I'm not complaining.
I definitely think that she has some connection to the toy maker, which I think it's gonna be like one of the things that I wrote down is like maybe because of how the Doctor, like the snow keeps showing up whenever they kind of talk about or think about her, what happened when the day that she was born. Like I'm wondering if she's got kind of like how Maestro was for music. I wonder if Ruby's got some connection to memories, and maybe she might wind up being able to offer the Doctor like, hey, I can show you where you came from. But I don't think the Doctor would take that, because I think the Doctor just wants to look forward, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I definitely think Ruby's not as human as it's being shown out to be, especially because so Russell T Davies went to go see Merrily We Roll Along, which is the musical that Jonathan Groff is in right now, and he is Tony nominated for, so that's very exciting. He's been nominated for Tonys before, but he's nominated for a Tony for this one. He did write in the caption, let me see if I can pull it up real quick, because he did write something interesting in his caption about going to see that. Jonathan will be on your screens as the mysterious Rogue in Doctor Who very soon. So his character's name is Rogue, which also, if you watch Disney Plus for long enough...
Did they capital R that, or no?
Yes.
Like, is that proper? Okay.
It is capital R, Rogue, yeah. But also, when I was watching Disney Plus the other day, if you watch enough episodes in a row of something on Disney Plus, you start getting, like, pre-roll ads for, like, hey, here's another show you might enjoy. And they did one for Doctor Who, and I had the captions on, and it did, like, when Jonathan's character was speaking, it did have in the brackets, Rogue. And so,
okay.
and then we also know that, I'm forgetting the name of the actress, but also the Duchess is also the name of a character in there. So I'm wondering if they're going to be another pairing that is connected to the toy maker, and they're there to maybe, I don't know. Yeah, listen to me. I'm I don't like to theorize on what, because I don't want to be disappointed or be like, I knew it all along or anything. But I'm fairly convinced that.
Or what if their Time Lords named the Rogue and the Duchess?
Mm-hmm. The Rogue and the Duchess. I'm excited to see Jonathan Groff in Doctor Who. But yeah, so with these two episodes, they're both great. But are there any standout performances from guest stars or favorite moments that you want to talk about?
There were points where they were making pretty hard jabs at like everyday life when they were talking about war and refugees and all this stuff. It was a Space Babies episode because they didn't want to take them in, and they were talking about refugees and things like that. And I'm just like, ooh, dang, that's a sting to real life right now.
For sure. Yeah, Doctor Who is really good at holding up mirrors to stuff, for sure. So one of the other fun things that did come up, that it came up in the interview, somebody asked about working with the babies for Space Babies, because they were all about like 1-ish years old apparently, because Russell was talking about like, oh, in 17 years time all these babies are going to have their parents showing this episode at like their 18th birthday party or whatever, which I thought, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool to be in Doctor Who so young. But Millie was talking about, so she's got that scene where she's like talking to them about her life and the Doctor and everything, and she said in order to, because there's only so much you can CGI, and they already had to CGI the baby's mouth so it looked like they were talking. But she said in order to keep like the baby's attention, like looking at her while she was doing her speech, she said she had her phone like held down here with like a nursery rhyme playing on YouTube so that all the babies would look at her while she was acting, which I thought was like the best. I'm like, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I really love Ruby. I mean, I think like a lot of people, I want to see some companions that aren't contemporary Earth-based. But like I said, I think that she's got a lot more to her than what's been kind of hinted at. But I really love how her energy matches the Doctor's. Like, they're both so excited to see the universe and are really like on the same page about how great things are. I mean, the Doctor definitely gets a little bit more into it than Ruby, because he's like, oh my gosh, a monster. And she's like, like he's laughing his butt off about the boogeyman being made of boogies, and she's just disgusted. You know?
Well, I mean, she was covered in them. Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but I really, really love Ruby, I think, more than I expected to. I mean, I like all the companions, but I'm really loving Ruby a lot. I especially like how they brought back that she is a musician in in the Devil's Chord, where she gets to play the song that she wrote for her friend to try and help bring music back. Because I like that Russell remembered to continue that line of thought, because I mean, yes, it's been years and years since he's first started writing Doctor Who, but like you get stuff like Rose in one episode being like, I've got the bronze medal of gymnastics or whatever, and then it's never brought up again. So I was happy to see that he continued that, but I hope that continues to be thought about, because even like Martha sometimes didn't always like think through of how to bring her being a doctor into the plot line of everything. So,
or Yaz being an officer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, continuing line, like themes, I don't know, and this isn't my original thought. I just was like, oh, this theme is continuing, because I'm glad you mentioned the whole her playing music. So I don't know if this is the maestro is not done, or if music is still a continuing theme, but there was the specific mention when she got into the TARDIS of, hey, nice jukebox, like just pointing it out right away. And when the Doctor was explaining, like, oh, Time Lords and everything, said it while leaning on to the jukebox also. So I don't know if music is more important than we're thinking, or if I'm just being a dumbass with clown makeup. But also, if Maestro is not done, is that how Maestro gets into the TARDIS?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point too. I know. I really loved how, like, Maestro started playing the Doctor Who theme song, and then you got the theme song, and then like it ended on the jukebox, and I was like, I'm like, how many fourth walls are we breaking here?
Well, exactly. Okay, so we've had how many fourth walls are we breaking? We've had like staring at the camera, just directing things.
Yeah.
Like it's very surreal. The amount of times it's happened. Like I'm starting to get like it's been more than twice. But if I had a nickel, I mean,
exactly. I think this a lot with Doctor Who. It's going to be fun to go back and watch all these episodes once we have the full context of the story, because I feel like those fourth wall breaks are going to mean something a little bit later on, but who knows?
Who knows?
Especially the comment that the Doctor, because there's the scene where they've got the music playing and it's, oh, I thought that was non-diegetic music. And I was like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? I'm like, can you normally hear the music going on around you when things are going bad, Doctor? Like, I have some questions now. Like, are you aware you're in a TV show? I don't know what's going on anymore. But, yeah. No. And Jinx Monsoon as Maestro was great. Just the entire performance is just over the top. It was so much fun to watch. And like I said, I watched the song at the end like 3 or 4 times.
That was too long for me.
Okay.
That's just my taste. Like, it was cool, but then I was like, wow, it's just a whole 5-minute song. I'm exaggerating, probably, but it felt like it was a long time. Speaking of Jinx, and it sparked the performance thing, the part when the Doctor used the sonic and silenced everything.
That was very cool.
It was just, that scene just overall was cool, and like the use of absence of sound, and then the pitchfork like in the water with the re-entry of sound and how they did it, like it was very cool. Just the way they used sound in that episode was great.
Yeah, the sound design on that episode was really, really cool. I'd love to like get into somebody's brain about that. I'm hoping that, because these episodes are ones that Disney was more directly involved in, I'm hoping that means that we're going to get the behind the scenes stuff on Disney Plus and not just have it on BBC iPlayer and get tiny little clips on YouTube for the rest of us. But we'll see, I guess. I'd love to hear whoever did the sound design for that episode just talk about it all day. This was really cool.
I have to get into it. I just remembered. Shoot. I have to get into it. The scene where Ruby talks about, let's go back and see the Beatles, and Ncuti's like, that is brilliant. And then they run off to change, and then they come out in those outfits. That whole sequence, that music, everything about that was so freaking badass. Like, they just walked out killing it.
Yeah.
And that track was just perfect for that scene.
Yeah, like I said, I love how much fun these two episodes have been. I'm sure like I said, I'm sure there's heartbreak coming. I'm sure there's very sad things coming, especially with the doctor promising that her mom, I'll bring her back, she'll be safe. I'm like, I'm like, objectively, I understand that we know that she's going to be in the next season, but also,
Well, how much of the next season? Because that is she gonna be killed off, or in the next
yeah.
season? I keep coming back to this. They said Matt Smith was in series 9, and he was a 30-second phone call. So maybe she's just flashbacks next season. She could already be dead. Who knows?
I mean, the press releases did make it sound like there's going to be 3 of them in the TARDIS, so I don't know, but I feel like the people behind Doctor Who are pretty good at misdirecting and being like, oh no, no, don't, it'll be fine. Like, one of the other questions that came up during that press conference was like, is the Master coming? And Russell was like, no. No. And he was very like calm and cool about it. He's like, no, the Master is not part of this story. And I'm like, sure, Russell, sure. I'm like, I don't know if I'll expect the Master this season, but I'm like, I am almost 100% positive we'll see the Master before Ncuti Gatwa is done playing the Doctor.
Most likely. Like, that's usually the rotation. Like, right now, I don't feel it's the place. This season outfills the place for the Master right now.
Yeah. So we've seen the first 2 episodes, and we get that little next time trailer at the end for Boom, which is Stephen Moffat's episode, which I'm so excited for. But now that we've seen more of it, and we've gotten more trailers and everything, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the season?
I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. Like, this, I don't feel like there's a total full direction yet. But then again, when you're watching Series 4, which was one of my favorite seasons of Doctor Who for New Who, every episode in Series 4, which Russell T Davies did, looked like it was a standalone episode until you got to the end where everything connected and even the bees going away were part of the end game. So I don't know what to expect yet. I think I'm going to need more to come up with more. However, I do like your toy maker theory with Ruby.
Thank you. Yes, we'll see if I'm right or not. And like I said, I'm excited to see Jonathan Groff because he's great and I love him. If anybody doesn't know who Jonathan Groff is, yes, you do. He is the king in the pro shot of Hamilton that's on Disney Plus, and he also voices Kristoff in Frozen, among many other things. But if you're a Disney fan, those are the 2 things you're going to know him from. But I'm very excited for that episode because I love watching him. I've seen him in other stuff too. I also got to see him in Little Shop of Horrors a few years ago. But I am excited to see more of what Russell does with, I hope I wrote it down right, but like the Pantheon, I think is what Maestro called it, of like the people who are all connected to the toy maker. It was just like one short little line.
I actually don't know. I've heard that word before, but I actually don't know what that word specifically means.
Yeah, the Pantheon being, because in like history, that's like the pantheon of Greek gods and all that stuff. So I'm interested to see, because like that's him setting up a new, it feels like it's a new class of Doctor Who villain where the rules don't apply that we really are used to.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see where he goes with that idea. Like I said, I have feelings that Jonathan Groff's character and the Duchess are going to both be connected to that somehow because of like those one word like, because he's called Rogue, she's called the Duchess, so maybe the Duchess is a Time Lord and Rogue is connected to the Toymaker. I don't know. I have too many theories now. Yeah.
What if they're all related to the Doctor? And that's why the Doctor's a Time Lord and in existence through all time, because he's technically a god.
It's a possibility.
He didn't come from this universe.
That's very true, yeah. I do like that, as much as like I wasn't a huge fan of Jodie's run, I do like that Russell is engaging with the added lore that Chibnall brought to it, with the Doctor being adopted and not knowing exactly what their origins are anymore. I do like that he's playing into that rather than just ignoring it, because he totally could have just been like, whatever kind of thing.
You could have, but I feel like it was the right thing to do too, because you can't just take what you can't just, the show, you can't just pick and choose what you're going to have in it. Like he was, Chibnall was entrusted with the show. He did what he felt was the best for the show. And I will go to war for that man because he is... I didn't like all the stories, but I will go to war for that man because that man is the most genuine dude. I've seen him, met him in person, and fight me.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the right thing to do also because you have to embrace what you're given, and it would just be an insult to the previous writer, cast, everyone who worked on the show if you just wrote over it and said, oh, that never happened. So homage needs to be paid in order to move forward, and I don't know, it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, because it's a 60-year-old show, you got to do something new every now and then. I mean, basically any franchise that's been around for as long as Doctor Who has, you got to do new things every now and then. Like, they've got the Spider-Man comics where it's a universe where Peter never got bitten by the spider, but then because of some weird intervention, but then he's given the spider when he's like fully like a grown-up with 2 kids and is married to MJ. I'm like, you got to do interesting and new things with the characters every now and then to keep the story going. It's just what you got to do. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But
or you could just
got to engage with it.
Doc Ock invade his body and take over and say, I'm going to be the better Spider-Man.
Yeah. Sorry, as anybody, this is not completely on topic, but as anybody who might have seen me talk about stuff online knows, I'm a big Insomniac Spider-Man fan, the video games, and I am genuinely worried about the 3rd game because I'm pretty sure they're angling for a Superior Spider-Man arc.
I haven't read Dan Slott's run on Superior Spider-Man. I just know all the cliff notes. I know about it, but my thing was I never read it because I want to read it cover to cover. I want to read the compendium. I want to read it all in one sitting. I haven't had access to that just yet, but it's supposed to be one of the greatest runs that they've had in a long time.
I got a Marvel Unlimited subscription, so I've been going through some of the Spider-Man stuff, and originally I thought, I'm like, oh, the Clone Saga and Superior Spider-Man are 2 separate things. They won't connect, and so maybe Spider-Man 3 will be the Clone Saga and not Superior Spider-Man. Only to come out to find out that there is some crossover between the two. Like in one of the comics, Doc Ock is cloned Peter's body, and he's living in the cloned Peter's body, but yeah. This is a Doctor Who podcast. We don't need to talk about Spider-Man.
I have the 2nd run of Superior Spider-Man already. I just haven't started them yet.
Yeah. It was like one of the Spider-Verse runs that I was reading. But yeah, the point being, you got to do some new stuff with the characters. Because Russell even knew that when he brought the show back in 2005, because he knew how much baggage there was with Gallifrey. And yes, I would like to see Gallifrey again. I would very much like to see Romana again, and Leela, and K9, and can we get Narvin and Brax on TV, please?
I'm just picturing the pitch in 2005 or prior to when they're like, okay, so we're going to bring Doctor Who back, but some of this stuff's expensive. Like, how are we going to do Gallifrey? How are we going to do those headgear? How are we going to do... I don't think we can do it. I don't think we can do it. What's your plan? What's your plan? We'll kill him. We'll kill him. The planet died. We won't explain it until later. He's the last one. Kill them all. Because I thought I missed something too, because I watched the 8th Doctor movie and then saw 9 and was like, wait, what do you mean they're all dead?
Exactly. Yeah, like you got to do new stuff. And like I said, I'm glad that Russell's engaging with it, because I remember like when it was first announced that Russell was coming back as the showrunner, everybody's like, oh my goodness, finally he'll retcon all this timeless child nonsense and and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if anything, he's gonna make it sadder. And that's exactly what he's been doing. And he's been making it make sense thematically for his run of the show, where he's bringing in how Ruby is also adopted and making it a part of the show in a way that works better for me. I know that there's lots of people who love Chibnall's run, and I do like it. It's just wasn't always my favorite. I'm not knocking it. Again, like you said, the man was very well spoken at Gallifrey 1 for all his intentions. Just it doesn't always work for everybody, but I like that Russell is engaging with that and exploring what that means for the Doctor as a character.
Yeah. Shoot, I had something and then I forgot.
Yep.
I don't know.
I know that feeling. I do. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or should we wrap up?
I don't know. Usually we end these with our random facts,
Yes,
but it sounds like you added a fact in here in the middle of the episode with
about Murray.
Yeah, with Murray Gold at the piano, because I didn't catch that. I was like, maybe I was too far into it. Maybe I zoned out.
Well, I mean, because I was watching the credits because I'm always interested to see like if I know any of it, just to see what the names are. So
Yeah,
I did actually get it.
Like for me, like that scene was long, so I might have zoned out and didn't even see him there at all.
It was a very, very brief glimpse of him. Like when I was watching the credits and I saw that Murray Gold wasn't, that was one of the first reasons that I went back and rewatched the scene, and then I watched it again just to jam out to the song. But yeah, it's a very brief clip of him at the piano. I'm sure you could probably see him at the piano, and he's probably in other scenes as well. But I think that it might mostly be at the end, because I think usually in Doctor Who, correct me if I might be wrong about this, but usually like the cast list at the credits at the end is like in order of appearance. So he was like very towards the end. So,
ooh, one last thing I do want to mention, because it's very different, and I don't know if it's because it's Disney or just the costume design this season or what, but seeing the Doctor in Levi's. Even though it was just like at the beginning of the episode, the Doctor wearing Levi's, it was cool, but then I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. That feels like companion status.
I mean, I do love that they're giving him like more than one costume, which is exciting, especially after 13 got stuck with like the same coat and once in a while a different shirt.
You 13 Doctor cosplayers had it so freaking easy. You had one coat for 3 seasons, and then 2 coats at the end of the run, which was just an inverse color scheme of the original one, which was what all the shirts and sweaters were. Y'all had it so easy. I envy you.
And they had like a really nice, like, I think reasonably affordable replica of the coat too from Her Universe.
Yeah, the Her Universe coat was fantastic. It wasn't screen accurate, but it was fantastic.
It was great, yeah. All right. Let's see if I can get a fun random fact though. Let's see.
Oh no.
The page that I got is explosive decompression.
Am I to assume that means
explosive decompression was the rapid loss of atmosphere.
Oh, I thought it was a fart joke.
That would have been pretty good, though. Yeah, when they were transmitted from Earth to the moon's surface by the genesis of, CTHALCTOSE, a bunch of these characters died from explosive decompression. Only Bernice Summerfield and Emarand Tamaz survived, and that is from the book Eternity Weeps.
Oh, I was going to say I don't recognize those characters, but that's probably why. I haven't read any of the
Bernice Summerfield is a decently well-known extended universe character. She started out in the books, but she also has a lot of like audios. She's kind of the original time-traveling archaeologist from Doctor Who before River Song. And River and Bernice actually meet in one of the audios, and it was very fun.
Oh, there was a dad joke that I saw for Star Wars I can modify for Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How am I going to rephrase this? So, River Song deals in archaeology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her career's in ruins.
Pretty good. All right, we should probably wrap up on that.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Again, I'm Nate, or Talk in the Box.
And I'm Elizabeth, aka Lady of Time Cosplay. That's it for this episode of Temple of Geeks Who Review. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. You can also follow us on social media for more Doctor Who content. I know you and Monica are working on some identification of some of those costume pieces for the episode. So keep an eye out for that for
I
anybody
found
who's
one of the shirts
cosplaying.
already. Oh, the shirt, the red shirt, the belt, and well, the Levi's are 501 Levi's. But yeah, that outfit we've already got or identified.
Very nice. So yes, I'm sure I know you guys are really good at. Because Monica was sent me a message like, "Hey, are Nate and Monica done watching the episode yet?" No, because we keep pausing it to find the costume pieces.
I was taking so many pictures and told Monica, I'm like, I promise you I'm not taking pictures of Ncuti's butt. I'm honestly just verifying that these are Levi's.
Yep, all right. On Twitter or all. X or whatever you want to call it, and Instagram and TikTok as at Temple of Geek. You can also visit templeofgeek.com for Doctor Who cosplay guides like we just talked about, episode reviews, news, and more. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.